What's going on, guys? This is Malcolm. You are on Malcolm Talks, and I want to do a quick review of this axe hammer type of thing that I got off Amazon. As you can see, it's got a little sheath. I wouldn't say it's the best quality, but I guess it'll do. You know, it's got this little thing back here. Looks like it'll stay in place. You can put it on your belt, no problem. You know, you can't just clip it or anything. You got to put it on there through your belt, and it's on there for a minute until you take your belt off. And it's Velcro. Nice. Now let's get into the tool. Looks pretty cool. It is made by, what is this, GRESOU? Can y'all read that? Whatever that says. GRESOU. GRESOU. I don't know. But one of the first things I noticed about this tool is that it does have this little safety part on there, and here's the blade. You know, the blade looks interesting, man. I will say that this bad boy looks quite sharp. You know, you got some perforated edges here. Not quite sure what that's for, what it could be used for. Across the top here, that's definitely a 90-degree spine up here, so I'm pretty sure you could strike a ferro rod with that. One other thing is, yes, it does have a ferro rod attachment to it. Very small, but you know, you should definitely, you could actually do it this way. Yeah, definitely work. Not trying to burn my wooden table. That's probably not a good idea. But I wanted to show you guys that the ferro rod does work, and it does work with the axe head here. I would think that that's okay, because it's not like you're using this axe, this small hatchet head, as a refined knife. So I mean, if it gets a little nicked, whatever, you know what I mean. This thing is also a whistle. Very small whistle. Let's see. Okay, all right. I mean, you know, it's not the best whistle, but I'm thinking that the whistle could get you out of a jam if necessary. I'm gonna go ahead and put this back on here as I go through the remaining portions of the tool, because I don't want to accidentally cut myself. Now, as you look up in here, there's holes in here. At first I thought they were going to be fashioned for something where maybe you could put it over a nut and like be able to crank it, but no, I think these are just circles. Comment down below if you know what they're for. I think they're just to take a little bit of weight off the tool. But given that this is kind of a hatchet, I would think that you would want to leave as much weight on here as possible. That's what I would think. But I guess it does kind of reduce the weight in terms of ease of carry. But I would prefer it to be solid, you know, so I can just really just hammer on something. You see, you do have the hammer on the back here, which is a nice benefit. You can hammer in a nail very easily with this. I don't know if you're going to be able to hammer in like a piece of wood into the ground. I guess you could if it was a small stake. But, you know, I think these two, small hatchet here with the hammer here, with the ferro rod here, with the whistle, I think you already have a nice handful of pretty interesting tools that you just don't find on multi-tools. You just don't find those items. Small hatchet, hammer, and ferro rod. So right off the jump, out the gate, you're working with something. But obviously, the most important thing is probably the blade. So let's go ahead and look at the blade. Wow. Okay. Not a bad looking blade. Got a serrated edge. That feels quite dull. I guess I wasn't really expecting it to be that sharp, but I'm pretty sure to cut through paracord or something like that. Now the blade up here is pretty sharp, comes to a nice point, appears to be pretty solid. It does not lock, however. The blade does not lock. It does kind of pop back, but it doesn't lock. So obviously that could potentially be a safety concern if you're going to be taking this out and using it on a regular basis. You just have to really be aware of the fact that this bad boy will kind of come up on you. But I think just from the looks of it, it's a pretty good looking blade. You know, when you get a good purchase on it, it feels pretty good. You'll be able to bear down on it, maybe get you some feather sticks. You know, be able to process game. I'm not a hunter, but for those of you who hunt, you know, you might be able to process game with this knife. I don't see why you wouldn't be able to. It's pretty sharp. You can definitely cut out notches, things like that. The blade is quite thin, so I don't see, you know, I wouldn't advise using this to try to, split wood or anything. You know, but I guess you could split small pieces of wood with this. You know, but if you're beating on the back of this, yeah, it'll probably tear up pretty quickly. This bolt, I'm pretty sure, and if I'm not mistaken, this thing was like 20 bucks. This bolt's not going to take too much pressure, but so not bad. Okay, so now we also have a file. This is actually a hell of a file. Well, it's a big file. First up here you have your flathead, which looks pretty solid. It also does not lock. You have a bottle opener here, which looks pretty legit. You have a file on this side. I don't know if you can see that. It's a very thin, I'm not sure what you're going to be using this for, but it feels quite smooth. Maybe you could use it for something. And on the other side, you got the double stitched file. I'm not sure exactly what you call that, but that is what it is. Pretty decent. You know, I don't see anything wrong with that. And from the looks of it, man, that kind of looks like the extent of it. But let's go on this side and see if there's anything else that we can work with. Oh, okay. Forgot about the pliers. Yeah, see, now we're working with something. And it's a little tough to get this bad boy open, which I like, actually. I don't like those super loose tools. What I'll probably do is take some, I'll probably get a little WD-40 or something like that and oil it down a little bit, kind of work it through just so it's not as tight. But I actually like my tools to be a little bit tight. But this looks pretty decent right here. You know, this hatchet hammer I mean, it does kind of feel like it's in the way a little bit, but not really. You know, it's spring loaded, pretty good. Looks like the pliers are pretty even. Yeah, it's got a needle nose here. Not quite the needle nose that you would find on like a Leatherman or something like that, but it's decent enough. You know, they look like I'm trying to push them out of place, but they look like they're pretty good. You got your wire cutters in there. You can see that. Yeah, looking pretty good with the wire cutters. Let's see if there's any tools on the inside of this thing here. Not really. I was playing around with this thing and just kind of stumbled upon this. There's actually a little piece in here that if you push it, this little part pops out. And you can see that you have some little bits here. And it's like, wait a minute, what are these bits for? Well, you can take out one of these bits. Let me close up the pliers here. All right, and if you notice at the very top of the hammer and the axe, there's a little place for the bits. So you put that in there and it's magnetized. So a very unique tool. I'm thinking that you could pretty much do the same thing with this as you would any other drill set. Now, obviously, not drill set, but you could do the job. You could do a rudimentary job of whatever it is you're trying to do. I mean, if you had to have it, you got it. You got it right here in your hands. Now, the only problem is the surface area of this is not going to let you fit into most places. The only length that you have to fit would be the length of the actual bit. Otherwise, this is going to create some problems if you're trying to get him squeezed in between some tight spaces. But for what it's worth, I think it's a pretty decent thing. Now I'm gonna go back in here and put this bit back, in which case you're just essentially sliding it. Yeah, you're just essentially sliding it. Yeah, sliding it right back in. Went in there pretty easily. Now there was a small piece on here that broke. I don't know if you can see it, kind of chipped like right there, the plastic, but it has not impeded anything or caused the tool to be less useful. What ways could this be improved? Well, I think if they just had a nice knife that locked. I know they have this knife, but you know, this knife, it doesn't lock, and it's got the serrated part right here, which is cool, but I'm not really a huge fan of serrated knives. I don't really have a huge use for a serrated knife personally. You know, but I think it's a good looking knife at least. I mean, it comes down to a nice sharp point. It's pretty solid. Not a whole lot of flex. You know, decent thickness. Would be nice if there was a 90-degree spine on the back of this where I could strike the ferro rod on. That would be nice, but we don't have that, so no big deal. But you know, I think it is more of a novelty item personally. I mean, if you take this out in the woods, you know, for a day camp or something like that, I think it would be more so just, you know, not true survival. It's more just, well, let me just see how far I can get with this thing. Now, if you didn't have anything and all you had was this, then yes, you're better off than someone who does not have anything. Don't get me wrong. You can put a lot of good use to this thing if your life were depending on it. But that's all I got, man. I don't think that there's anything else that I missed. When you look in here, it kind of gives you the impression that, oh, it might be 4 or 5, 6 other tools in here. But guys, I haven't seen anything else. Because when I open this up, there's nothing in there. And when I open up the other side, I mean, you got a real nice satisfying click when you open that bad boy up, but there's nothing in there, guys. Not a whole lot going on in there. I mean, you can always blow the whistle. You know, blow the whistle. Anyway, yeah, that's pretty much it. But like I said, I need to look on Amazon to see what the exact amount of this was, but I'm pretty sure it was under $20. This thing right here might have been $18.99, guys. So I think it's worth it. I think it's worth it. You got a small hatchet. You got a small hammer. You got a ferro rod. You got a knife. You got a file. The file seems somewhat useless. I don't know. It's not the type of file that's got that edge where you can like carve out a notch or file you away a notch. So that's not what it can be used for. So that's, you know, you lose a little bit of the utility there. But I think it's pretty cool. It's cool to have in your collection. This is Malcolm. You're on Malcolm Talks. Sometimes I like to do videos like this because I like tools, and I like to really look at tools and dissect them and see if they have any utility. And you know, it's just interesting to me. Like the video, subscribe, And I'm going to holler at you guys next time, man. Peace.